It's difficult to imagine a more ridiculous pantomime than what we're witnessing today, with President Trump and Putin both absent, and Trump now saying, "Well, nothing's going to happen without me." Ooh, keep your hands off my frillies. It's against this background of intensifying violence in eastern Ukraine, cautious diplomatic choreography in Istanbul. Trump it says nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together. Oh, matron. But this one liner, he's not only reduced a multinational effort to broker peace into a two-man play, but he's cast himself predictably as the indispensable lead. The Istanbul talks were by all accounts meant to signal a fragile renewal of dialogue, and Ukraine's delegation, led by the capable and reform-minded Rustem Umerov, arrived with military intelligence chiefs and diplomats prepared to negotiate a technical ceasefire. And Russia, in contrast, has sent a curious quartet of historical revisionists, deputy ministers, a spy master with a resume of poisonings and sabotage, but Vladimir Putin is nowhere to be seen. He's the person who floated the idea of the peace talks in the first place, and he's declined to attend. He's dispatched the ultra-nationalist former culture minister Vladimir Medinsky, a man best known for his pseudogenetic claims about Russian superiority of having plagiarized his doctoral thesis. If that doesn't scream sincerity, you have to ask what does. Maybe he's got one of Putin's puppies up his sleeve or down his trouser leg. President Zelensky, upon arrival in Ankara, made his feelings clear. The Russian delegation was, in his words, a sham. And who can blame him for saying that? And then, from 30,000 feet above the Arabian Peninsula, Donald Trump breaks in with all the subtlety of a fire alarm during a string quartet recital. Nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together, he intoned to reporters while en route to the United Arab Emirates. And this was not a statement of foreign policy. This was a challenge, or more accurately, a demand to be centre stage. I wanted sausages. Trump, by placing himself as the sole viable emissary, undermines not only the Istanbul talks, but the very notion of multilateralism. Never mind the Ukrainians, the Turks, the Europeans, or indeed the Americans already present. All of this, he implies, is theatre until he appears on stage, maybe with a quick costume change. Of course, there is a perverse logic to Trump's claim. Putin, who has avoided direct negotiations with Ukraine's President Zelensky since the outset of the wars, seems now to be gambling on Trump's return to centre stage, or rather to centre power. And the Russian president's decision not to attend is both a diplomatic insult to President Erdogan of Turkey and a strategic calculation. Why make concessions to a president he doesn't regard as a key player? Trump's assertion that nothing will proceed until he and Putin meet gives Putin exactly the validation he seeks. It frames the war not as a brutal invasion, but as a problem to be solved by two great men behind closed doors. It conveniently forgets the sovereignty of Ukraine, the voices of the dead and the grieving, and the delicate diplomacy underway. While Trump muses about choreography, Ukrainian soldiers in Pokrovsk are coordinating artillery strikes, dodging drones, and watching comrades fall. Kozak and Yuri, their pseudonyms, a reminder of the stakes, speak of resilience, not resignation. They don't trust that a handshake between autocrats will end the war. For them, peace is not something Trump and Putin can conjure up over coffee. It's measured in ammunition, territory, and the cost of holding the line. To them, and to the bereaved mothers of Zaporizhia, the idea of conceding land for peace is not a strategic calculation, it's sacrilege. Their children didn't die for a redrawn map. If these talks fail, and there is every indication that they will, the blame will be parcelled out in fragments. Some will fault Putin for his no-show. Others will fault Trump for treating war like a ratings game. And the greatest cost will fall on the Ukrainians, who have done everything but surrender. It's not that a Trump-Putin meeting could not play a role. Perhaps eventually it might. But the idea that peace hinges solely on the chemistry of two men, one with a nuclear arsenal and one with a narcissist complex, is not diplomacy. is delusion. It's delusion that Trump has actually got something to offer beside a hair transplant. It's delusion to think that Putin has got something to offer behind the fig leaf of propriety that he is that he's set up in these peace talks. Behind my fig leaf, I've got some drones. Well, I've got an enormous drone that's going to go all the way over to Ukraine and fall on Kyiv. Because that's his aim. His aim is to find a pause and fill it with an explosion. This war, like most wars, will not end with a flourish of ego, but with the painstaking compromise, enforced verification, and long-term security guarantees. And while Trump insists nothing will happen without him, one might counter that nothing durable will happen with him if the process is reduced to personal theatre. Let's hope for Ukraine's sake that the diplomats in Istanbul, no matter how theatrically upstaged by the absent Putin and the spirit of Trump ever present, the gust of Trump, the wind of Trump, and the absence of Putin. Let's hope these boffins in Istanbul will be able to do their job. Because war, as Zelensky said, persists when people don't talk. But peace cannot wait for someone's entrance, not while the bombs are still falling.